Right on. I think we're recording. All right, guys, this is Steli Afti with Close.io. I have Noah Kagan with me today, which is a super honor to have. He's one of the web's original OG super hustlers. Hence why I wanted him to jump on an interview. I think Noah, what you've been doing for the past few years has been pretty educational to most of us, pretty awesome stuff. So I wanted to share more of these ideas, views, experiences with everybody that's checking out the Closeout block on a regular basis and wants to get their hustle game on to the next level. Noah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Why don't we just, before we jump into my questions and really get hands-on on that, why don't you give people a little bit of your background story, where you're coming from, where you are today, and where you want to go next, to set the right context for the interview?
Sure, man. I started making like a shit ton of crappy websites. Like I made like Craigslist for college students. No one used it. I made a college textbook exchange. People used it, and I mean, I think what I've always really liked is like I've liked sales and I like code, and so I've kind of always felt in between that. And what I've done with I mean, if you search my name, you can find all the stuff I've worked on. But all I've done over and over and over again is I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I want to do more of that stuff, or that company's doing exactly what I believe in and what I want. And I just go do that, and then I try to get the word out there as much as possible. So it's like, you know, Facebook, I wanted to get a lot of girls. At Mint, I love finance. And AppSumo, I just found products, and I'm like, man, these guys are awesome. I don't know why more people don't know about them. And then our biggest product now, called Suomi.com, which is like, it basically solves everyone's number one problem, is how do I get more customers? And so yeah, it's kind of what I've been doing, is just keep going towards the things that I really enjoy.
You've described yourself as a hustler before, right? And I don't think, not only in private, but also in public. What does that mean to you? Like, what does it mean to be a hustler in your own definition?
Can we swear?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Fuck
I
yeah.
just don't know. I feel like sometimes I fucking offend people.
No.
I think a hustler is someone who's not a pussy.
Okay.
And,
Elaborate.
that's it's interesting because I don't know. It's something that you can be taught or not taught. But I think someone who's a hustler, or whatever the term is that they are able to deal with rejection, right? Because I think the difference between people who are making it and hustling and getting success is that they're willing to persist when it's painful for others. They're willing in the gym when they're willing to go to the gym, and even not at the gym, they're not just like playing around. They're like going through the pain, and that pain and that rejection is where you get bigger muscles, or where you get the success that you're looking for. And I feel like, every day, most of my day, I'm facing rejection. And I used to joke we're like Al Qaeda, that you can't stop us.
Wow. Okay.
That joke never goes over. People are like, he's Al Qaeda? I don't understand this guy. I don't understand him. But the point, and I think that's what it comes down to, is that just persisting and persevering when things don't always seem as good as they could be, or things are tough. Like, people email me, hey Noah, can you do this for me? Or hey, I want that job. And I don't do it as a test always, but I'm like, no, sorry, I'm really busy. 1 out of 100 follow up with me. Everyone else is like, okay, great, thanks for the response, bye. And it's basically a clear indicator that they didn't really want it. They didn't want it bad enough, and they just wanted. It's cheap to send an email, and I feel like a real hustler, is that they're like, I'm gonna go to the person's door, I'm gonna call them, or like my buddy Eric Ruiz. Eric Ruiz is a hustler. He wanted a job at Waze. You know Eric?
No, I don't think I know that, Eric.
He's a young hustler. He's got an okay music taste, which we'll talk about later, possibly.
Okay.
But so Eric wanted a job at Waze, and instead of saying like, oh, I'll apply and send my resume and put my finger in the air and pray that I get a job, he literally like walked into their office, said, I want to meet the CEO right now. Met with the CEO, was like, hey, I'm going to help do sales for you guys. Where should I sit down and start working? And got the job. And I think that's like that is like the epitome of what a hustle should be, is that you want something bad enough, you're willing to persist in a non-annoying way to accomplish it.
And so I couldn't agree more with you, and I have like 100 stories I would want to share, but in the spirit of actually getting most out of your hustling brain to the audience, let me ask, when you said you don't know quite if that's something you can learn or not. So if hustling is all about like pursuing things without the fear of rejection, or persisting despite rejection, what is it? What is that fearlessness? Is that really in the genes? Is that something is that related to upbringing? I've been brought up by a family that was pushing that or stimulating that. the ability to actually face rejection and overcome it. What do you think? Is it really personality? Is it environment and kind of nurture or nature? How are you thinking of that?
Well, my father was a salesman. He sold copiers door to door, more or less. And so I didn't really see him get rejected or not, so I didn't see that. But I think one of the key things that he did, and I think this is where I think it's a factor of two things. One, you have to want it enough. Like if you email me only once about something, you really didn't want it enough. And two, you have to practice. You have to. I'm still afraid. Like I'm still get afraid. And so to practice, I'll go through some examples. Like when I was a young kid, my dad would pretty much negotiate for everything, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, "Can you just let it go? Do you always have to ask for things?" And so, I'll give some things that your people can. If you're watching right now and you're like, "Well, I just kind of want to get better," or "I'm afraid," or "I want to become more of a better salesperson." If you're selling something you really love, it's easier because you're like, "Hey, it's a no-brainer. I'm helping you." I've always thought of the best sale as an education or like a no-brainer sale where I'm like, "You have to do this. I'm sad for you." But in terms of the straight practice part, a few things that I would recommend. So number one, if you're like trying to start your own business, here's one you could do. It's called the $30 challenge. And so the $30 challenge is how would you make $30 today? Hustle your ass off to make $30. And the thing is, it's not too much that you can't do it. It's not too little. And a lot of people are like, oh, I could do that easy because a friend of mine will give me 30 bucks. Go get $30 in. And I think that's the real difference is that the real hustler will say, all right, let me go do this. Let me struggle and I will get it. Other things that I can recommend is do the coffee challenge. Coffee challenge is something that I've made popular, which is I want you to go to Starbucks and you ask for 10% off. And that's it. You don't say why. You can tell them, oh, my friend Noah told me to do it. Don't do anything else. And the whole point is for you to feel uncomfortable. And then when you do it, you're like, oh, yeah, it's not so bad. I could do this. And, a lot of people, my favorite responses are, I'm a salesperson. I've done this for years. I'm not afraid of that. Then just keep practicing and stay sharp. My brother thought he was such a badass. And on his birthday, we went and did it. And he was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm a little scared. I'm like, fucking do it. You don't be a bitch about it. And, and I think what you have to do as a salesperson or become more of a hustle or become more fearless is continually push yourself on that. So, like, one of the things that I do now that it's still, like, it's uncomfortable is that in airports, I do the newspaper challenge, which is I go up to people reading newspapers and I ask for them. So I'm like, are you done reading that? Can I have your newspaper? And they're like, I've had people be like, I paid for this. And I'm like, I know, can I have the sections you've already read? And then some people, half the time they're cool, half the time they're not. And I think the whole point that I'm trying to make is that it'll never be easy. It's just never like, oh, yeah, I can just ask anybody anything. I'm super great at it. But I think part one, find something where you genuinely believe you're helping them. And part two, just keep practicing in smaller ways to build up that confidence.
I think that's a really important point because I think most of the people, when they hear somebody like you, they'll think, yeah, that's cool. Noah is already like amazing at this. And he's like born as a baby, he was out hustling other babies. And he just got like, he can't help himself but being so awesome. But for me, this shit is hard. I have to learn. I have to, I feel shame. I have something like shame, which he doesn't seem to have. And I have all these emotions that are stopping me and all these like reasons, rational reasons why I can't do the things quite the way that he describes. So I think it's important you bring up that you're still kind of sharpening the saw and working on that skill set. Maybe is there any example that you have today in your business versus like the day-to-day, like asking for 10% off on a coffee or speaking to a stranger or a foreigner to practice that the hustle muscle. Anything today where you can think of the last few weeks or months where you tried something really big with your business or tried something that was uncomfortable to you and you actually failed at it?
I mean, I would say I feel like that way every day, and specifically is that I'm trying to hire a designer. And so in a designer, I'm literally like cold emailing people probably, and this is no joke, like 10 to 16 hours a day now.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically getting rejected all day long. It's like, oh, no, I'm too fucking hip for you. No, I don't like your personality. No, I already work at Google. I literally got that email. I'll show you. Like, this email came from a guy who's really good design. He said, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, fuck you is what he said. I'm going to stay at Google for now. And so I think here's the thing to think about. This is what I do. One, I think it's cool. There's something dead there. One, you're gonna die, so you'll be okay. Secondly, I think the thing is two parts. Not it always has to be two parts, but two things that are interesting are one, I know that it's going to be hard, and I tell myself that it's going to be hard for the next 2 to 3 weeks doing this, and that alone helps me accept that I'm going to get that all day long. So, and I've seen this in businesses. I've started a few that have made 7 figures and they do well, and I've seen a lot of people. We have a course monthly 1K, and we've helped literally over 5,000 people. So I know a lot about how to start a business. Not saying, I've also failed, so I have some experience. The point I was going to make is that most people just need to accept that it's going to take 6 months of shit or a year for them to finally get there. So there's businesses like Close, and there's businesses like WP Curve, there's businesses like AppSumo, that the difference between them is that we are gonna go through pain for 6 to 12 months to finally start making money. Like my first year, I made $12,000. And now this year I'll make 100,000 plus. I'm not going to go into details, but that's 10x over. But it took me 4 years. So I think if you can persist and know it's going to be hard, that's one thing. And I think the second key thing that people need to get better at when they're doing their hustles is debriefing. This is like my new word of the next quarters. But the debriefing part is what is not working, what is working, and then how can I do more of what's easier. And so with designers, I'm struggling because I'm basically going up to girls at bars and being like, "Sup, girl? I'm not as good looking as you, and I'm kind of bald up here. Like I got my terrorist beard on, and so it's a harder thing. But what is working is friends referrals is working. Some ads, I'm running ads, that's working, and doing paid like smaller gigs. So instead of me going up and be like, "Yo, quit your job, come join my party," I'm like, "Hey, can you do something? Here's $200. Do you mind doing a small project with me?" And so I think the thing is not just being like a bulldozer or being like a steamroller, but saying like, all right, well, this parts of the hustle are easier and these are working well. These ones aren't. How do I just kind of focus more on the things that are easier and that are going to be working better? And I just don't think people do that enough in general.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I like I like calling it debriefing, right? Kind of gives frames it in a way where people can actually look at the things that are not working and the things that are working and try to ask the question why. It's a good practice to get a little bit of a distance, so you're not as emotionally involved. Because I think what's really hard on the emotional side on the hustle is like because you're so consumed by your business and the things that you're trying to accomplish, the pain really hits hard when something doesn't work, and it feels so significant and so huge. But if you have just enough distance, if you look back at things that really bothered you, your failures 10 years ago, they seem really tiny and they seem insignificant, and you might even laugh about things that seemed really super like life-changing at the moment. So, let's talk a little bit about like instilling a hustling attitude in the company. So, I wonder, is when Noah is looking to hire people, designers, for instance, are you looking purely at, what's the skill set? Is this somebody that is just awesome at designing? Or how much do you go for culture fit? And how much of the culture that you're looking for is actually, hey, Steve, say hi to Noah. All right, so how much of the culture fit is actually about the hustle? Like, how much do you look for people that are like intrinsically hustlers, or are you the chief hustler, the person that drives the business forward, and everybody else in the company, you don't really care that much how much of like go-getters and hustlers they are. All you look for is people that have skills and can actually accomplish a certain thing in a certain given area of expertise.
Well, for the designer role, I think a lot of it, I mean, I can only speak for my own stuff, is that what's really important to me is just attitude.
Okay.
I think once they're at a certain skill set, like they're just good or not, and it's just a certain cultural fit for ourselves. Like I think we're like a little too humble sometimes. We're not really braggarts. We don't go out and boast about ourselves. Maybe we should and talk about some of the accomplishments. I think that's a big thing is our attitude is very kind of mellow. I think one of the things that I'm really happy with the team we have now is that everyone's very reliable. So I'd rather have someone who's not well, I'd rather have someone effective and reliable, but I'd rather have someone more reliable than effective.
Why?
Because reliability is predictability, right? When you can rely on something, one, it just makes things much easier and smoother moving forward. And when you start running a business, you realize like predictability in revenue, predictability in people is how you're able to grow a business. Like if things are all over the map, you can't know how they're actually going to be turning out in the future. But they're like, okay, well, this is the kind of the forecast. It makes it just frankly easier. I would say like in salespeople, it's interesting. We've gone through different I think we've had like 10 or 15 different salespeople, and the person we have now is our best one is Anton, and he's insanely good. And I don't really have to motivate him. I don't have to tell him what to do. I don't have to like set his sales quotas. We just kind of hired someone who does it himself. And if I could hire more like that, I am hiring like more like that. So if people want to learn how to sell really well, if people want to learn how to work in a 7-figure business or an 8-figure business, we are hiring salespeople. And so part of it is like you can teach certain things, but also Anton, like if I left him alone, he would just keep hustling because that's his nature. I don't think that makes sense for the developers. I'm not looking for a developer who's going to go out and be like, yo, I'm going to hustle my fucking ass. I'm looking for a developer that, frankly, is reliable, and with, obviously smart, but reliable with a good attitude.
Awesome. Now, let's talk a little bit about some tactics, right? Some like actionable things that people can take to improve what they're doing. So we talked a little bit more about the philosophy of hustle and can be learned or not, and the emotional side of it, like dealing with rejection, really going forward, although you anticipate that things are going to be really fucking hard. Now, let's say I have that. I feel like I have that, but I'm still a diamond in the rough. I need to learn how to write better emails. I need to learn how to make better pitches in person on the phone. Like, what are some of the rules, some of the tactics that you've seen applied really well? Like, how do you send emails when you send emails? How do you select people that you want to send an email to? When you have to make a pitch either to an employee, customer, press, whoever you're trying to convince of something, what's kind of the structure that you use and the way that you think about putting together a really fucking awesome pitch and sending really great email?
I mean, I think the overall thing is if you're trying to accomplish something, there's a few. Let me say a few things. One, I get emotional. I know you're like, oh no, and you face rejection, you have no fear about it. No, I get sad. Like when there's this designer I really like, and I start fantasizing about it. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna be so great, and we're gonna go get drinks, and he'll like working out with me. And then he doesn't respond, or he says he's busy. Then yeah, it does suck. And I think that's what I was saying earlier. It's as long as you know it's going to suck for some period of time, it makes it easier when it does suck. So in terms of actual like hustle tactics, I'll just provide a mantra to make it easier. If you're doing what everybody else is doing, you will not succeed. That's it. So if you're sending an email to close a deal, there are 10 other people sending an email to close the same deal as you. Like I had this really crazy epiphany a few days ago, and I realized that I'm super naive. Like when I'm hitting on a designer to work for me via a LinkedIn fucking boring request, there's 10 other companies doing the same thing. And they all have food and lunches and all this shit. And so I think what you have to realize is like, if you're doing the things for sales the same way everybody else is doing, you are not going to succeed.
How do you know what to do? All right, so you know what everybody else is doing, you have to do something different. Obviously that pool of options is infinite. So how do you get started with being different or approaching something differently, sending a different kind of email or calling somebody in a different kind of fashion?